It's mock draft Monday as we look at who the Sharks could be picking in next month's draft.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today, we're going to be looking at mock drafts, right? Last week we had the draft lottery. Of course, the Sharks going to number 2 in the draft. So now that we've had a little bit of time to kind of digest and see, as everyone has already started coming up with all the how do you trade up, who trades back, all that fun stuff, which of course is not going to happen. We're going to take a look at some of the mock drafts that some of our favorite people have come out with and look at kind of who the Sharks could be picking at number 2 and who might be available with the Dallas pick at the end of the first round. So before we get into all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So we're going to be starting, we're going to be looking at 6 different mock drafts today. We have 2 from The Athletic. We have 1 from Daily Faceoff, Flow Hockey, the Hockey News, and Bleacher Report. And some of these are full mock drafts and some of these are only the lottery teams. So we will look at kind of who the Sharks are picking and more importantly, who they potentially pass up and kind of see how some of these mock drafts shake out. So let us start. We're going to be starting with The Athletic, who put out 2 mock drafts this week. One that was from one that was a beat writer one where they had all the kind of beat writers for each team do a mock draft, and then Scott Wheeler did a full first round mock draft. So we're going to start by looking at the Scott Wheeler one as he predicts the full first round. So the New York Islanders, he has them picking Matthew Schaefer, which will be a common theme throughout here. But he does start to say, I think we have to acknowledge that the Islanders will consider local product James Higgins here. I think we also remember that at present, they're GM-less. So as of right now, they're just going to pick who they think is the best player available, and that would be Matthew Schaefer in this. Of course, with the San Jose Sharks, he has them picking Michael Misa, which will be a running theme as well. Schaefer is the best case scenario for the Sharks, and if he's here, I expect that they'll take him. They're taking Will Smith and Mac Celebrini with back-to-back top 5 picks, and number 7 pick William Eklund has established himself as a top young forward on the team. They have impressive depth, et cetera, et cetera. If Schaefer goes number 1, there are 5 consensus forwards that they'll likely consider to various degrees. Misa, Higgins, Frondell, Deonays, and winger Porter Martone. Taking one of the natural centers doesn't necessarily lock them into having to make either Smith or the kid they pick into a third-line center of the future. He goes on to say that Smith's played on the wing. Misa potentially could play on the wing as well. But he does note, of the group, Higgins feels the least likely to me because they already have Will Smith, right? Why would James Higgins? You have James Higgins at home. His name is Will Smith. So makes sense to me. Just to kind of round out the top 5 here, he does have Frondell going number 3 to the Blackhawks, which I think is very interesting. Caleb Deonays going to the Utah Mammoths. James Hagan going number 5 to the Preds. The Preds would be so happy, I think, if Higgins landed to them at number 5. Brady Martin, who's been flying up the rankings, going number 6 to the Flyers. Jack O'Brien going to the Bruins. Porter Martone falling to number 8 with the Kraken. Roger McQueen to the Sabres. Martika, the right-handed defenseman going to the Ducks. And then Victor Eklund going number 11 to the Penguins. So just interesting to see kind of how he has everybody shaking out here. So with the Dallas pick, who he has Dallas picking at number 28 in this mock draft, this will probably make a lot of Sharks fans happy. He has them picking Blake Fiddler, the right-handed defenseman from the Edmonton Oil Kings. He says, if the Sharks don't get a chance to take a D with the first pick of the draft, I bet they take one with their second. Fiddler gives them a potential middle pairing guy with length to play behind or potentially someday complement the left-handed Sam Dickinson. Spoiler, we're talking about Fiddler here really soon on this show. And I think if Fiddler is there at 28, Mike Greer wouldn't be running to the podium because, again, it'll be offsite, but he'll be sending that pick in as soon as humanly possible. Shane Visegi, who we just talked about recently on the show, was a pick at 29. Jacob Elis Wozniak, right-handed winger from Sweden, who's 6'2", goes to Nashville at 30. Ivan Rybikin, the center from the Muskegon Lumberjacks, who's goes 31, and then at 32, William Horkoff, the center from University of Michigan. So that's kind of how the end of the first round goes there for that draft. So walking away with Misa and Fiddler in your first round as a Sharks fan, I think you'd be feeling super stoked with that. So if the board fell that way, right? And we kind of have a feeling, right, it's probably going to be between Schaefer and Misa in the first pick, but having Fiddler fall to your lap at 28, that feels like a really nice work there for the Sharks. So switching over to the beat writers. So this is all the people who cover the teams for the Athletic. So of course, Arthur Staple, who covered the Islanders, he has the Islanders picking Matthew Schaefer, and he says he also had visions of the Islanders selecting James Higgins to start their turnaround. It makes so much sense with all the turmoil around the team now. And of course, there's no GM. Smart move is to find a cornerstone defenseman. Schaefer's the consensus pick here, and you can't go against that. And with the Islanders having so many needs, it makes sense, right? Eric Stevens has the Sharks picking Michael Misa. He says, good fortune didn't strike twice for the Sharks after getting Macklin Celebrini, but this is still a great spot to add another high-end piece of the prospect arsenal. Exceptional status player in the OHL. Misa lived up to that with a monster season with Saginaw. Sharks will love that they forged tremendous chemistry with Igor Chernyshov, the second-round pick from last year. Talented player, Sharks GM Mike Greer said. And then they drafted Will Smith as a center. They can move into wing. Misa can play the wing or whatever. Like, you can figure things out between them. They have Porter Martone going number 3 to the Blackhawks. Caleb Desharnais going to Utah at number 4, which is interesting. That keeps happening. James Higgins again going number 5 to the Preds. Anton Frondell at 6. Jake O'Brien number 7 to the Bruins. Radim Murtka going to the Kraken. Brady Martin has been flying up, man. And then Roger McQueen to the Ducks. And then Victor Eklund falls to 13 at the Red Wings there. So just interesting. Jack Nesbitt, that's way too high for Jack Nesbitt at 12. But anyway, so plenty of that Caleb Desharnais to Utah does feel like something that you're going to continue to see more and more. So but yeah, I like, again, the Porter Martone not falling as far in this one makes sense, right? And if you want to give Connor Bedard a solid winger who would really, I think, kind of fit his play style, Porter Martone does make a lot of sense there. But the Misa pick, which is going to be a really common theme pick between all these mock drafts there, right? Of just that it gives you flexibility, right? And you have 3 guys who can play center potentially play center between Will Smith, Michael Misa, and Macklin Celebrini. And if you need to like kind of mix and match and pair them up there, assuming Macklin Celebrini is going to be the first line center. But if Misa is your second line center and Will Smith slides to the first line wing, then maybe you get like a bigger forward to play with those guys. Or if Smith's on the center and Misa plays the wing, whatever you want to do. It's just so much flexibility there to have Misa down the center. And if you ever really, really, really needed to, you could run all three down the center and just laugh as Michael Misa is your third line center, just wrecking shop there, which would be really fun, but probably not a good way to deploy them. But anyway, fun conversation for another day. So we're going to look at Daily Faceoff, our good friend Stephen Ellis, who's been on the show a bajillion times. We're going to look at his mock draft and who he has the Sharks picking and why I do not agree with his Dallas pick. And we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Ever check your bank account, wonder where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, or if you're like me, just buying snacks for your children? It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just manage your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track both shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, before we continue, and I just rip Stephen Ellis apart for his terrible mock draft. No. Do, of course, want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, probably part of the Locked On Network. If you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe as we are building up to our simulated off season here. Got to look at under bunch of different stuff. Got to look at all the free agents, what the Sharks should do in the draft, who they should re-sign, who they should let go, all leading up to our, again, simulated off season. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. Daily Faceoff, our good friend, Stephen Ellis, who, again, has been on the show a bunch of times. Will probably be on the show at least once more before the draft. So he did a full first round mock draft, which, because Stephen Ellis, the man wrote 10,000 words on prospects the other day. So, of course, he's going to do a full, I would expect no less of Stephen. So he has, of course, the Islanders picking Matthew Schaefer. Wow, what a moment for the Islanders. Makes you wonder if they take Long Island native James Higgins, but they need to go for best player available. Isles have one of the worst pipelines in hockey. They can use a high-end defensive prospect. Schaefer instantly would become the top blue liner in the system, et cetera, et cetera. So he's still, even though he missed games, still, but I think, again, right now, until we see a GM in office, I think most of the mock draft people are just going to go with who they think the best player available is, and that's Matthew Schaefer. So I am curious, as the process goes along and you get an actual GM, if that said GM maybe goes towards the center. But again, we'll see as the process goes on. So, of course, he has the Sharks picking Michael Misa. Sharks need a defender more, but they're getting the best forward in the class instead. He's a skilled forward with size and an outstanding shot. Seriously, could you imagine him alongside Macklin Celebrini, especially on the power play? Yes. Misa is one of the best pure goal scorers in the CHL. Is on track for one of the most impressive goal-scoring draft campaigns that we've seen out of the OHL in quite some time. The best thing here is his ability to take over a shift. Misa is a true difference maker. Sweet. Blackhawks, he has them picking Porter Martone. Utah Hockey Club, he goes with James Higgins. Higgins is the third best forward on his own line, but it feels like too many people discount the Boston College star. Incredible skater, matches up with anyone in the draft class. Skill-wise, Utah would be getting a player who has been a leader just about anywhere he's played, broken numerous, et cetera, et cetera. Hagen's at 4. Interesting there. Preds, he has him picking Anton Frundell. The Flyers, Caleb Deones. Bruins, Brady Martin. Feels like a Bruin, to be honest. The Kraken, Jackson Smith. The Sabres, Victor Eklund. I know that they have a bajillion. Victor Eklund would be like their tallest forward that they drafted in the first round in a while. But yes, and then Jake O'Brien, the center for the Ducks. So with those, he has Roger McQueen slipping to the 15 at the Canucks, which is interesting there. Just kind of one of those other guys to kind of keep an eye on there. So for the Sharks at 28. So he has them picking Cameron Schmidt, right winger with the Vancouver Giants. Schmidt might be a small at 5'8", but he makes up for how hard he battles. He started the season as one of the WHL's most productive forwards. His numbers started to quiet down as the season wore on, but he showed his incredible puck skills and play reads every single night. Defensively, he took nice steps forward too. Schmidt is a pure offensive forward with great speed and likes being in front of the net. On the power play, he's absolutely lethal. The question is, can he translate his game to the NHL? Now, I think Cameron Schmidt is a interesting player, and we're spoiler going to be talking about him very soon as well. He just doesn't feel like a Mike Greer type of player. And yes, the 5'8" thing doesn't help with him, but especially with the player who's next who goes with the next pick. And the player who goes with the next pick is Bill Zonin, the left winger over in the QMJHL. Zonin, energetic, tremendous player who is looking more comfortable as a shooter too. He's physical, smart, excellent passer, can do some dangerous things with the puck. When he has the puck, he tends to make things happen in open space. Without it, he creates space for his teammates and gets himself to the net. His ability to play with pace should intrigue teams in this range. And I think just Bill Zonin, who has more of a power forward type of play to his game, it feels more like a Mike Greer pick compared to Cameron Schmidt, who probably is a better goal scorer. But if Cameron Schmidt isn't scoring goals, what else can he do for you? And I'm not sure you could answer that with the way, of course, Mike Greer is building this team, right? And one of the things I think we're learning from Greer and his size and skill are king. And you have to be extremely special skill-wise if you don't have the size. And I don't know if Cameron Schmidt has the extremely skilled, extremely high elite skills without to go with the lack of size there. So just my guess. If given the two, I think Greer is definitely heading towards Bill Zonin. So, all right, looking at Flow Hockey, friend of the show, Chris Peters. Man, a lot of friends of the show. So he is something different. He has the Islanders picking James Higgins. He goes out there. He does the thing. There's a lot of complicating factors here, but not the least, the Islanders don't have a general manager right now. With the draft strategy, it looks unclear. James Higgins is no longer the consensus top pick after a good but not amazing season at Boston College. That said, the Islanders have a chance to take a kid who's local, dynamic, playmaking center, and only going to get better. He's as big as some of the other players, and there are a lot of reasons to take Schaefer or Misa, but if the Islanders want to land a player that could be with their organization for the next 15 years, why not take the kid who lived and breathed Isles hockey his entire life? Sometimes fit just means more, though Higgins has fallen down draft boards. Still has a strong case to be among the top players selected. So he does the thing. He has James Higgins going to the Islanders with the top pick. Of course, for the Sharks, he has them picking Matthew Schaefer. After drafting both Celebrini and defenseman Sam Dickinson last year and Will Smith the year before, Sharks could bolster their defense long-term with projected number one pick Matthew Schaefer. Injured for most of the season, but when he played, there's little questioning that he's the best player in the class. If this situation where New York passes on the top defenseman, San Jose would make this pick in a heartbeat. So that's what you're potentially hoping for is Higgins or Misa going number one if you want Schaefer to the San Jose Sharks. Chris Peters does the thing. Rounding out the picks here, Frondell goes to the Blackhawks. Porter Martone goes to Utah. Misa goes to the Preds. The Preds get Misa here, man. Ridiculous. Could it be one of those things where we're looking back, like, how did Misa land at number 5 type of things? Darren to the Flyers, Roger McQueen to the Bruins, which, like, if I was a betting man, that feels such like a Bruins pick. Radim Murtzka to the Kraken, Jake O'Brien to the Sabres, Brady Martin to the Ducks, and then Eklund goes to the Penguins. That Eklund to the Penguins thing, I think, makes a lot of sense. So, but yeah, he only did a top 16 there for that pick. So, but yes, that's the outcome. If you want Matthew Schaefer, that's the outcome that you're hoping for. That the Islanders go with a potential number 1C, whether it's Higgins or Misa. In this instance, they draft Higgins, and you do wonder if the Tavares thing does kind of sit in the back of their head, right? Of a guy who they drafted number 1 overall, and they weren't able to kind of sign to that next big long-term contract. If you want a player to be here kind of forever, do you hopefully, right, a guy like Higgins who may more likely to probably stay. So anyway, we're going to continue by looking at the Hockey News and Bleacher Report, look at some of their mock drafts here and kind of see how these top 5s are rounding out for them. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. All right, before we finish up, of course want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. For your second listen, check out all new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let's finish up here. We're going to be looking at Bleacher Report and the Hockey News. So the Hockey News one here is done by Ryan Kennedy. So he just did a top 16. So he has, of course, the Islanders picking Matthew Schaefer. Islanders could not only use high-end help at any position in the future. So let's just go best player available here. Schaefer's a game-changing defenseman who can do it all. While he missed most of the season due to injury, it won't take him long to get into an NHL uniform on Long Island. He has the Sharks going Misa. Sharks could probably use a D-man more at this point, but with a pick this high, only a forward could be prudent based on this class. Misa is an incredibly skilled and competitive center who would make for a daunting 1-2 punch down the middle with Macklin Celebrini, with Will Smith there. Sharks have an option putting one of them on the wing. Martone, number 3, to the Blackhawks. Frondell to the Utah Mammoths. Nashville gets Higgins, Darren to the Flyers. Victor Eklund to the Bruins, which maybe, I don't know. He has the Kraken picking Jackson Smith out of Tri-City, who you can argue who's the second defenseman. Keishon Aitchison, the defenseman at Barrie, to number 9, which feels really high. Roger McQueen at number 10. Jake O'Brien at number 11. Brady Barton at 12. So just kind of some of those potential players there. But the Eklund Bruins thing, I got just the way the Bruins kind of build their, look for what they look for in players. I know Eklund's got the dog in him, but I don't know I think the size thing might be a huge factor for him. And I do think he could be a player just because of his size might slide down a little bit here. So let's finish up with Bleacher Report, who actually did a full mock draft here, full first round. So this is by Lyle Richardson. So they have Schaefer going number 1 to the Islanders. Despite missing the second half of the season with a broken collarbone, Schaefer is a consensus top prospect. Islanders could use a right shot defenseman, but Schaefer should be too tempting to pass up. And of course, there's no top right-handed defenseman at the top of the class right now. Misa to the Sharks. Sharks are well set at center with Celebrini and Smith, but Smith can play the wing and give them flexibility to choose. So 6'1", 185-pound Misa with his 132 points. Rounding out the picks here, Martone to the Blackhawks, Hagens to the Mammoth, Jake O'Brien to the Preds, which is interesting there. Frundell to the Flyers. I think the Flyers would love to have Anton Frundell at number 6. That would be pretty big. Eklund to the Bruins. Again, Radim Murchka to the Kraken. Then you have Deonays to the Sabres. Carter Bear to the Ducks. So that was interesting with Carter Bear, right? Because he tore his Achilles. I think it was what the injury is, right? And with the Ducks, you have so many forward, like they're pretty well stocked there. Do you get a guy who would be a potential top 10 pick, but because of the injury, you can put him on ice for a little bit? I think that's a little rich for a guy who, again, you don't know when he's going to get back and how he's going to be post his injury there. So a little rich there, but you can see the vision for it. So Roger McQueen at number 11 to the Penguins, Brady Martin to number 12. Scrolling down. So we get to the Sharks pick at 28. He has the Sharks picking Henry Brusevich, the defenseman out of London, right-handed defenseman. 6'1", 194 pounds, two-way blue liner who plays a solid game at both ends of the rink. So Brusevich, I think, is going to be one of those players who next year has a big season because of the people who may or may not be there, right? Oliver Bonk, who's expected to go, will be going pro next year, right-handed defenseman for London. We know Brusevich has been playing with Sam Dickinson for a lot this season. Between those two, right, Dickinson's going to kind of get the majority of the puck carries and stuff like that, and Brusevich is kind of be the second fiddle between those defensive pairings. So you wonder if next season, especially if Sam Dickinson, is in the NHL, Brusevich could be a guy where he makes a big leap next year because he's going to be one of the few guy holdovers on this London team. So he's a guy I do really, really like for the Sharks, whether it's at the end of the first or in the second round. We'll talk about him a little bit more later on this offseason, but I'd be pretty happy with Brusevich for the Sharks there. Some of the kind of picks right after the Brusevich pick. So you have Colin Porter going to the Blackhawks, the left winger out of Arizona State. Blake Fiddler going number 30 to the Preds, which makes sense, right? His dad played in Nashville. So Ivan Rabinka, the center from Muskegon, going 31 to the Caps in this draft. And then William Moore, the center from the U.S. team, going to the Winnipeg Jets at 32. So it would be interesting between Brusevich and Fiddler. Fiddler, of course, is the bigger player, probably the safer pick between those two. But I mean, we know the Sharks are going to have a lot of eyes on London with Casper Halton and Sam Dickinson there. So I'm sure they have they're going to know Henry Brusevich inside and out, know his game. So, but yes, that's our first mock draft. We did it, kids. We went through 6 different mock drafts right now. And as we, get closer to it and the Islanders actually pick a general manager and we maybe get some information about that, we'll look at more mock drafts and stuff, and we'll do our own mock drafts as well. But we did it. Just want to kind of look at how where everyone's kind of leaning right now, who potentially is there for the Sharks and who isn't there, all that fun stuff. So we'll be back tomorrow where we're going to be talking about a current Shark who's looking to get paid. So make sure you guys are following along for wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.